Welcome, everyone. Welcome to week 7 of the discipleship class. And I would like to just thank Jackson and Ludington and Richland for joining us tonight. I'm looking forward to this as everything's starting to come together in our discipleship teaching. So you have Pastor Sean tonight. He's back. He's ready to teach. And so hit him with some hard questions.
I love that. Not right now, but maybe later. Do some hard questions. It's good to be back, y'all. It's been some weird timing with the conference and then Melissa teaching and then me teaching in Richland. It feels like it's been like months since I've been here, but it's good to be back in Portage. I live like across the street from here, so it's really nice just to like leave and be here and not wave at Portage as I drive like 30 minutes to Richland. So it's good to be with y'all. So I do want to try. I hope that this class will be a little shorter and there'll be some more room for some kind of questions and processing. I say that, and then it probably won't be, but I'm going to really try. But according to word count, this is shorter than my other ones I've taught, so I'm just assuming it's going to be shorter. But anyway, today we are in week 7. We only have a couple weeks left for discipleship class. This one, as you have your notes in front of you, this one's all about reproducing disciples. And so the big thing that we're going to be hitting here is a disciple who is not making disciples is a disciple who's actually stopped growing. And the idea is that making disciples or discipling others is not something you do once you've finally obtained to a certain level, but it's something you do and to actually help you continue to grow. So open your Bibles to 2 Timothy chapter 2. And while you are getting there, 2 Timothy 2, that's 1 Timothy 2. 2 Timothy 2 is, I want to kind of recap. I've been trying to kind of create these little recaps because we're not like just going through a book of the Bible or going through all of the, trumpets from Revelation that Spencer's going through, which is Godspeed, y'all. So we're not talking about trumpets today. But we are and discipleship can be a super broad, like topic. And so I want to kind of, but we're trying to hit these little pockets. So we started the series with our definition, which is a disciple is someone who is with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and doing what Jesus did. It's very similar to our mission statement: encounter, follow, and proclaim. That we're with Jesus, we're encountering him, his presence. We're becoming like Jesus, we're following him, and we're proclaiming, which is what Jesus did as well. He was proclaiming the gospel. So we've been kind of walking through these 3 movements. Week 1 was discipleship begins with allegiance, not admiration. Jesus was not just inviting people to add him to their existing life, but calling them to reorient everything around them. We kind of talked about cultural or Christianity versus true discipleship. Week 2, Melissa went deep into the inner life. The iceberg analogy that 90% of who you are is below the surface, your thoughts, desires, emotions, motives, and that I love this quote from Melissa, but that our impact will only ever be as healthy as our inner life. And then week 3, I kind of piggybacked off of that because we talked about, if our impact and our health is determined on our inner life, then we need to talk about what God is doing to form our inner life. He's forming your character. He's not just using your gifts. And before formation happens in you, before it can happen through you. Week 4, we then brought it home. We literally and figuratively brought it to the home where intentional rhythms, daily habits, these things that shape the home. And then week 5, Melissa zoomed out to the church, being planted, not just potted. The church is not just an event space, but it's actually a community that you belong to and you build with. And that we need the body. We cannot grow in isolation. And then week 6, we talked about the mission that Jesus gave us, which was to be sent. And as the Father sent the Son sends us. And that the mission field is not just primarily overseas, but it's your neighborhood, it's your workplace, and it's the table in your own home. So that leads us to week 7. So if we're saying that, our mission is to be sent and to go out, then the question that we're coming out with week 7 is, who is coming with you? Who are those disciples? Because the Great Commission was never designed to just stop with you. You are not just the one that was told to be made a disciple, but that is also your mission as well, as to go and make disciples. So if you just keep everything you've received, then you're not really a disciple yet, because discipleship by its nature reproduces. So we're going to talk about, what does it look like to intentionally pass on what you have been given. So you have 2 Timothy chapter 2, the first 2 verses. It says, "You then, my child, be strengthened by the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." Okay, so there's a lot of people in these 2 verses. There's these 4 generations of disciples. Paul, he's the one that says, "What you've heard from me," speaking to Timothy, who's saying, "My child," who he's saying, do entrust to faithful men so that they can teach others also. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of goes down. And what's interesting here is that when Paul is writing, he's in prison. It's probably close to one of his final letters. And the thing that's on his heart the most is that Timothy passes on to the next person, and he makes sure they pass it on to the next person. He's not trying to, speak of his accomplishments or his own success, but he's actually making sure that Timothy continues to pass it on. And that's the heartbeat of disciple making. It's not designed to accumulate more knowledge, but it's designed to multiply out. So when we look here, I think it's specifically in verse 2, it says, "In the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men." So that word is not like, just demonstrate this or perform this or prove this, but to entrust something to somebody is something valuable that you are placing in someone else's hand. If I have, maybe it's something that is sensitive to me, like information that I'm actually going to share this with you. I'm going to entrust you with this information. Or if it's something that's like valuable, like a physical asset that's valuable, and I'm going to entrust this to you. This is valuable, and I'm handing this over to you. I'm not just telling you something, but I'm giving you something valuable. It's this treasure that you are carrying that you eventually need to hand off to others. And now notice as well, just in these couple of verses, there's a lot to unpack here, that Paul, when he's saying entrust them to faithful men, he's not saying entrust them to the most talented men in the church or the most impressive men or the ones with the most gifts. He's saying to the faithful men. We're not looking for charisma or platform, but faithfulness. And so he's saying, look for those who will keep going when it's hard. The ones who are actually walking with Jesus, the ones that are still standing and resilient in year 15 of their discipleship journey, not just year 1. So Matthew 28, I think I have this verse here on the notes, hopefully. If not, I'm sorry. But Matthew 28, 19 through 20, it gives us kind of the scope of this work. This is, again, that Great Commission. "Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." Now, what is a key word in here is for those first few words, go therefore and make disciples. Jesus did not say, go make converts of faith, but he says, make disciples. When we look at the word convert, a convert simply just changes their religious belief. It's someone who believed one thing and now they believe another thing. And Jesus does not say to them, go and try to convince them that my way is the better way, or to believe in me and not believe in the other gods. But he's saying, go and make disciples, which has follow through. Disciples are taught, they observe, and then they go do the same thing. And so it's not the Great Commission is not just a task that you complete, but it's a process that you join together with other people and you pass it on. It's all about passing on and reproducing. All right, that's just kind of the little introduction there, and kind of the biblical foundation of tonight's class. So we have, I think it's 4 points here. I think I get some of these mixed up here. 4 points. 4 points. The first one is that you, as a disciple, are designed to reproduce. That reproduction is literally built into the definition of discipleship. So it's someone who is with Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and then doing what Jesus did. So if we're saying that's our definition of discipleship, well, what did Jesus do? Well, we see, just by looking, if I could summarize that kind of bit of scripture, it's he chose 12 people. He spent 3 years with them. He taught them. He ate with them. He let them watch him pray. He sent them out. He debriefed with them when they came back. He rebuked him when they were doing something wrong. He restored them when they failed. And when he left, he said, now you do what I did with you. So that discipleship is inherently reproductive. Discipleship is not just when you're ready to get to the next level of Christianity, or like Christianity 201, that's, or if you want to be like a minister or a pastor, or if you want to be like a professional Christian, then that's when you start pursuing this word called discipleship. But that's not what discipleship is. It's this natural overflow of someone who's actually been changed by Jesus, which is you in this room. You've actually been changed by Jesus so much that you start to care about the people around you. You want them to also be changed by Jesus. So if you remember, in week 3, when we were talking about formation, I used this analogy of the farmer who plants a seed, and he doesn't plant like an apple seed on Tuesday and then expect on Wednesday to be a fully formed tree with fruit. And that same analogy applies here as well. You not only can you not expect that seed to be planted on one day and the next day be fully formed, you also cannot expect to plant that seed and it stays a seed forever. But seeds naturally grow. You have to nurture and care for, but they are designed. A seed is literally designed to grow into something that also produces more seeds. An apple tree, we would all have been dead if our fruit trees just never actually produced more seeds. They all produce something that has more seeds in them that allow more growth. And so if you are a disciple who never makes disciples or disciples others, then you are like a tree that bears your fruit but then never drops it to reproduce. It's just something's not right, and eventually it starts to die off. So think about it this way. Everything so far that you've not just received in mine and Melissa's class here, not just this class, but in all of the other classes. Raise your hand if you're a graduate in this room. There's a few of you that I've seen. So there's 2 graduates coming up here. So for the last 2 years, and some of you, maybe it's only a few weeks, some of you, maybe it's a year or so, but everything you've received in this class or in these classes, everything about, just in this class, the inner life, your home, formation, the church, or the trumpets in the Bible, or any other classes, the Holy Spirit, the Old Testament, the New Testament, someone gave that to you. Someone entrusted you with this treasure. And then there was a moment when someone decided you were worth investing in. The Lord highlighted and said, I want to give me, I'm a husband and a father, I'm here because I want to invest, and I think you are worthy of that investment. And so someone chose to explain what they knew to you, to pray for you. You have people around these tables who are praying for you, who are walking with you, who tell you the truth when you need to hear it. And so someone decided to do that for you. You are then designed to do that for others. And so that's what we're talking about tonight, is how do you become that person for someone else? But the problem that we face when we talk about this is that most people who have followed Jesus for years have never actually intentionally discipled others. I guarantee most of you in this room have been like, I've been a Christian for this many years, but how many have actually been intentionally discipling other people? Maybe you've, sent a text a couple times, or you attend church, or you serve, or other than that, and you are growing. But have you ever looked someone in the eye and said, I'm going to walk with you in this journey, and we're going to walk through this in discipleship? And that's not necessarily to feel shame about. Like, I have to challenge myself all the time. And it's honestly one of the most common things that I talk about with people. If I've probably done, I don't know how many it was, but let's say it was 20, maybe less. But I guess if I count last time I did it with the RSM part-time graduates, I've probably done, I'll just say 30 RSM part-time graduate meetings where they graduate and I meet with them and we kind of help them in next steps. And probably out of the 30, 29 of them involve the topic of, so who are you discipling next? And what are you doing right now? And most of them didn't have a clear-cut answer. It's just a common thing. And so it's not something that it's like, hey, you're bad because of that. It's just, it requires intentionality. And so I just want to name it because the reason most of us have not done it is not that you don't want to do it, but it's that you don't know what it actually looks like. You either put too much pressure on it or you don't actually come to it with enough intentionality. It either requires you to have everything figured out and you have to reach a level of maturity, or you need a certificate or a curriculum or a degree, and you just assume that you're not ready. Or you just think, it's not actually that important, maybe it's not really for me, someone else will do it. But remember what Paul wrote to Timothy. He says, you have what you need, just pass it on. You don't have to have it all together. You just need to be a few steps ahead of the person you're walking with, willing to be honest, willing to be committed to staying close to them and to Jesus yourself. All right, point number 2, what discipleship actually looks like. So what's interesting is right now discipleship is a class right now. In this exact concept, we're calling discipleship a class, which is not a class. We're teaching about the concept of discipleship. But one thing that gets in the way of people discipling others is it feels like at times it's a class or a program you sign up for. If I want to pursue discipleship, I have to come to Wednesday night and join a marriage class or join RSM part-time, or I have to do this. I have to join a program in order to do discipleship. And those structures, this class, Wednesday night, different things like that, they're valuable and they're super helpful, but the core of discipleship making is not curriculum, it's actually relationship. The reason why this room is in a circle is because we're trying to help with relationships, because that's where discipleship was designed to flourish. Now, classes and teaching, corporate moments of worship, those are all highly valuable, not even secondary, highly valuable, but it all is designed, though, to drive us towards community and relationships. So Jesus didn't just hand his disciples a book or like a list of his favorite books and say, I wish you well, just good luck, y'all. I'll see you later. But he said, be with me, do life with me. Let me answer questions. Let me challenge your assumptions. Let me show you how I'm going to pray by praying in front of you. And let me show you how to treat people properly by me treating people in front of you. And so he did these things when he called James and John from the boat, or when he called the tax collector Matthew, or when he called all these other people. He didn't just say, hey, I think it'd be good for you to kind of study this out on your own. But he said, follow me. And so when we are doing that, you're actually doing that with other people as well. You are having them follow you along this journey as we all are following Jesus, which means we're talking about real, honest relationships. Someone who actually knows you when you're at your best and also not at your best, when you're struggling or ask questions that nobody else is asking, or who sees your life and speaks into it. And this doesn't just happen in classrooms, but it's when you open your life to someone and invite them to walk alongside you. So if you remember, I believe this was in week 4. I spoke about this when we talked about the home, which is the Shema. If you guys remember that, it was when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And so when we're talking about discipleship, we're not just talking about a weekly counselor appointment, or we're talking about just read this book and shoot me a text. We're talking about real ongoing investment in the people around you. And so this could look like getting breakfast regularly with someone and be willing to talk about real things. I just had lunch with someone today who wanted just to ask me some questions about some different things. And so we're just having real, honest, open conversation. And it's not just a professional email and I'm just saying, hey, read this book. But it's like, hey, tell me about this and what are you feeling? And here's what I felt in that situation. And let me share this with you. Or it could look like, like there's times where we've, invited some people to our home who were about to get married, and they were just kind of wanting to see, like, what do you guys do? Like, what is your marriage like? Like, how can we kind of ask you some questions? And so it's like letting them see your marriage up close, not just what I say on a microphone, or praying with someone who might be even struggling with learning how to pray. It's like, hey, let me, as I'm teaching my kids and discipling them, sometimes, we'll talk about something and my daughter is like, I don't really know how to pray for that. I don't know what to say. It's like, okay, how about I pray and you listen to what I'm saying and see if that helps you learn how you can pray as well. And so you're just you're showing them in those real moments. It's, even today at this lunch, there was a book that kind of came to my mind that was really instrumental in me learning about this topic that we're talking about. And so I'm telling him, hey, you should get this book and read this book. And then you're going to talk to me about it in a couple weeks. Like, let's actually have, not just read the book, see you later, but let's have conversation about this. It looks like being available when someone calls you during a bad time. There was a moment where I am getting in bed, and it's already is kind of late. I'm getting, the older I get, feels the later it is at night sometimes. And all of a sudden, my phone starts ringing. And I look and I'm like, why is this person it's like 10 o'clock at night, which for me, that was kind of late. And I'm like, why is this person calling me right now? Something must not be right. And I remember showing the phone to my wife and I was like, so-and-so's calling me. She's like, you should probably answer it. And I was like, yeah. And so I answer it and he's like, I need to talk to you right now. Can I come over? And I'm like, sure. I like this. I mean, if you're asking me this, like, this must be serious. And it very much was serious. And I'm glad that I was able to open my home and allow this person to come in for a little bit. And we talked and prayed. And this person has shared that moment. Now, for me, it was just like, I'll stay up for like an hour later and I'll have a conversation with this guy and I'm going to pray for him. And there's this crisis moment and he's trying to figure out what to do. And in that moment, we've talked about that, and it was like that was a moment that solidified something in his faith, and it was like a jump off anchor point for him to grow in his formation with the Lord. And so, was that easy for me? Not really. I mean, I was tired but it was like, that's what the realness is of it. And so, do I do that? Like, if someone else calls me at 10 o'clock at night, do I always answer the phone? No. Sometimes I'm like, why are you calling me at 10 o'clock? This is not talking about this bedtime. And I was like, I'll talk to them tomorrow. But I can kind of gauge like, all right, so-and-so's probably just asking me a question and they stay up too late, so I'm going to wait. But other times it's like, if so-and-so's talking to me, like, it says something for me. Something must be going on, and this is a moment where I can actually step in and meet them in a real, raw moment. And so it's things like that. It's not an elaborate, like, I have to have it all together and have conversations and know all the text, but it's just being there for someone in a moment, helping them feel seen and known. Proximity, honesty, and consistency over time. So I think I'm going to skip this because I want to leave some time for questions. Yeah, let's skip this. All right, let's move on to point number 3. So we've kind of talked about the purpose of discipleship. It's to reproduce. What it practically looks like, it's those moments, this intentional, raw, real moments. So then we come to the question of, who are you currently investing in right now? Not just who do you plan to invest in eventually, not a hypothetical future person, but who is already in your life right now who could use someone walking closely with them. And, man, who was I just talking about with this? Who was I meeting with? I was just meeting, it was who we were just talking about it earlier. And so I was just meeting with someone, and before I came here, actually. And this person and I were talking about discipleship, and he was asking some questions about, what does I feel called to I feel like I'm supposed to be discipling others, and what does that look like? And I had shared some things where I was like, there are already people in front of you right now. It's not go out and find that person. God has already put people in front of you. He had said, he's like, it feels like every Sunday there's someone that is like just brought in front of me that is like, I'm looking for community. I'm trying to figure out what to do. And he's like, it just happens every Sunday. It's someone new. And I'm like, it sounds like God is putting people in front of you that you should lead a group for. And he was like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't put all those together, And then I'm like, I was telling him, I was like, hey, man, there's time for me. Like, discipleship can be very simple. Like, if you're in the workplace or wherever, like this, okay, I work at a church, and still this can be forgotten about. Like, I will be, like, working in my office on a project, and I'll kind of come to the end of a curve of work, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of at a stopping point. I am literally going to get up, I'm going to walk out, and I'm going to make eye contact with people. I'm going to ask them, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how's so-and-so in your life? You mentioned that to me the other day, like, hey, like, what happened with, this thing that happened? And I'm asking them questions. I'm helping them feel seen and known, real, honest conversations. And it's those little moments that are helping people. You're building relational equity, and then when that person has a moment where they need something, they know that, well, this is someone that actually is kind of invested in me, has kind of poured into me a little bit, has made some conversation with me, and I can feel free to open up to them. There's probably people right now in your workplace or wherever environment, like there was like, okay, so like there was literally just a real practical example. There's a I want to be careful of sharing who they are because their punchline of the story is that they're going to start coming to church now, and so I don't want to make them feel weird if people are talking about them, which they will. I know you're not gossiping about them, but just it was these people from our kids' school. Their daughter is in our son's school, and we just kept running into them at different places all the time, like Walmart or the gas station or Costco or blah, blah, blah. It was just like, wow, why do we just keep running into you guys over and over and over again? And we'd have little conversations, whatever. And then finally my wife was like, hey, I'm inviting those people over for dinner. And I was like, why? We don't know them. And she's like, there's a reason why. She's like, we keep running into these people. God has put them in our life for some reason. Let's just have them over. And she's like, I don't even think they're Christians. I don't know anything about them. Let's just have them over and whatever. So we have them over for dinner, and I'm literally meeting this guy for like, because I don't even know his name. I'm just like, hey, I'm Sean. What's your name? I'm like, this is weird. Like, typically I know the person that I'm inviting over to our home. And so we're talking, and the kids know each other. They're just playing, having a fun time, and I don't even know. I think he was just like, so what do you do? And I was like, I work at a church. Oh, what church? That church, actually. And then and he's like, what do you do? I was like, I'm a pastor there. And he's like, oh. And then somehow he was just like, yeah, we haven't gone to church in a long time because of this issue that I had, and blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't feel welcomed. And then the pastor made me like, I was the first-time visitor, and he pointed me out, made me stand up in front of everybody, and everybody had to say hi to me. And then he was like, I didn't ever want to go back there. I was like, bro, that's weird. I was like, I would never do that. And so we're talking, and then he's just asking me questions about church. Like, what's the importance? Why do I need to go to church then? Like, why can't I just like watch something online? And so I'm like talking about like the value of gathering and this and this. And I'm like, what is happening right now? This is I didn't even think I thought we were just going to like just have burgers. And then finally he was just like, all right, you've convinced me. I'll go. He's like, but I'll only go if you're going to be there. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then he was like, all right, which church do you go to? And he was like, it's got to be this one, because I'm not going to go to the far away one. I was like, well, I typically go to that one, but just give me the date and I'll be there. And so it's this Sunday, May 31st. And it's like, he's like, okay, I will be there if you're there. And I was like, I'll be there. And he's like, if you're not there, I'm turning out, walking out the door. And I was like, I'll be there, man. I was like, let's do it. And so it was this moment, like, we literally, and then he was sharing about, like, he's like, I've never talked to people about this. He's sharing about his childhood, and the wife's kind of sharing some things. And they walk out, and I was just like, what the heck was going on with that? Like, literally, like, I wouldn't even called that to happen. But it was just the Lord used this. He just kept putting these people in front of us. And so we, after a few times, we're like, all right, I think God has put someone in our life. Let's just kind of let's reach out. Let's just have a normal dinner. Let's show them who we are. We're not going to like be like, okay, everyone, hold hands. We're going to pray now. Like, I know you don't pray, but we're all going to pray. It's like we weren't going to be like, we even told the kids, like, hey, so we normally light candles. We say a prayer. We do this. People that are coming over, they don't believe in Jesus. Like, we don't think they do from our conversation. So do you think we should pray or not pray? And then, like, Jackson was like, maybe we shouldn't pray right away and just kind of, like, eat with them and talk with them. And then, like, let's just see what happens. And so it was like, yeah, let's not make them feel uncomfortable. Like, but we're going to also, we have like our values of who we are, like on our walls, like we have Bibles all over our house. We're not going to hide who we are, but let's also make them feel comfortable so that we can, like when a door opens, we can just snatch at it. And that's what we did. And now the dude's his whole family's coming to church. So we'll see what happens. I got to text him though, actually. Hey Siri, remind me to text that guy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect, thank you. I almost said his name. So anyway, because I'm going to make him stand up, and I'm going to point them all out to you. Okay, so, all right. So we talked about in last week's class, it was your mission field has a zip code. And that same is true in discipleship. So it's not just who do I evangelize to? Who do I preach the gospel to? That not just for those who are going to, another country, but it's those in the grocery stores around you. But also, that's your discipleship as well. The people that God has positioned around you, they're not random. He placed them there, and some of them are ready for exactly what you have to give. Just like that story I shared. Like that person in that moment was ready. But and he had shared so much like hurt from different environments and what his parents did growing up and different things with the church, and he felt so like rejectant of church. But then he had literally said, he goes, man, because of such and such a thing happened in my life, I've literally been feeling like I think I need to go back to church. And so the Holy Spirit was working on him, and then all of a sudden he puts him in front of me, and I'm just like, hey, what's up? And then all of a sudden this conversation happens and I'm able to show him like, hey, I'm just a normal dude and people are people. And like a church is not like just a building, it's people. And like I'm kind of explaining these things. And finally he was ready for exactly what the Lord had me share with him. But maybe you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, but I'm the one that needs discipled. Like, I can't disciple others. Like, I got to grow. I got to do this. Like, if I'm discipling others, who's going to disciple me? And you're right. Like, you do need to be discipled. I need to be discipled. But like I said in the very beginning of the class, you grow into discipling. You grow into discipling others by doing it, by discipling, not by waiting until you are ready. The process of walking with someone else forces you to live what you believe. It forces you to pray, to actually know your Bible, to work through what you really think about God and how you actually live. Discipling others is not something you do after you grow. It's one of the primary ways you grow. Some of the most growth I've had is when my, now 10-year-old son, but it started like a few years ago, would wait till like, his bedtime, which is like around 8:30, like at night. And I'm like in with him in his bed, like, all right, buddy, love you, after we kind of do our routine. And then he's just like, hey, so what does this mean in the Bible? And I'm like, oh, it is so late to start this conversation. And then I'm realizing to explain this to like a second grader or a third grader, I got to really know what I'm talking about, because I can just, if you ask me a question like, so what's the importance of this and this? I could just spout out some Christianese and we could probably agree to be like, yeah, we kind of got it, right? But when a child doesn't know any of that, or someone that you're discipling doesn't know that, you have to really know it to be able to to digest that information and then regurgitate that information in a way that makes sense to them. So it forces you to actually wrestle with those things. So so when you're looking for people like that, because again, this point here is, who are you investing in? Who around you are you getting hints that are genuinely hungry for something more? Who's asking you real questions, difficult questions? Who also maybe, we talked about those faithful men, who's showing up even when it costs something? Or who's already moving toward Jesus, maybe imperfectly, but moving towards Jesus. Those are the people that you're looking for, that the Lord might highlight. Someone who's teachable, not someone who is acting like they already have it all together. Because if they act like they already have it all together, which I've had some of those people in my life, typically they're not going to receive anything, so don't waste your time. But it's someone who's teachable, who's aware of their need, who's humble, who's willing to be honest about who they are. That's the person that you need to have in mind, that Paul described, those faithful men. It's those people who become the ones that you pass it on, and they pass on to others, which is how the kingdom grows. All of this you here today is because someone invested in you, and you want to take that and invest that in others so that it can multiply and God's kingdom grows. Someone has already sat with you. Someone has prayed for you. Someone told you the truth about Jesus. Someone entrusted you with something, and now it's your turn to hand it off to the next person. And that leads us to point number 4, which is the cost and the reward of investing in people. I'm not going to try to flatter you with anything. Investing in people is very difficult, and it requires a lot of work. It requires emotional energy, physical energy. It requires patience, more patience than I have. It requires humility, more humility than I have. It actually costs something. It's not just something you can flippantly do. It takes intentionality. But the reward is so much greater than other things. So that vulnerability, sometimes it's disappointment. There's times where I've experienced 2 different kinds of disappointment. One is I've invested in somebody and that person kind of just walked away. Like they didn't respond in the way they should have. They've kind of, like, there's been people in my life. One person I'm thinking of, this was in a different city, one that in particular, where I invested in this person, poured into this person, and this person no longer loves Jesus, no longer walks with Jesus. And there's disappointment and there's loss because sometimes, like, you sow seed and that seed doesn't bear fruit because there were other things that choked that seed. And there's sometimes where I've invested in somebody and that person leaves for good things. Like there's literally was someone that I was like, I felt like called. I was like, this is someone, like the Lord had told me, you need to invest in this person. I was like, I will. And I did. And like I was pouring into this person, helping them grow as a leader. And they grew and they're like, I'm going to go be a leader over here. And I'm like, oh man, over there, not here. Like, I can't reap some of that fruit. Like, that stinks. And so, but I have to like remember, like, this is what God assigned me to do. And that means that sometimes you don't see or reap those rewards, but you invested in that person so that they could go and do that. Now, sometimes that happens. So now you have to remember Jesus himself, he spent 3 years, not days or months, but 3 years of his life, which is only 33 years. So that's a decent amount percentage-wise of his life. 3 years of his life into 12 men, one of which betrayed him, one of which denied him 3 times. Several of them argued with each other about who was the greatest, and yet he did not pull back from his investment. He did not give up too soon, but he kept showing up. He kept teaching them, and he kept restoring them. And so discipleship, it's not, whoa. There's some intensity going on down there. Discipleship's not efficient. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's not like, you do this much work and it just always is that easy. But you don't scale it up the way you would do just a clean-cut program because it's relational. It's relationship. And we all know you cannot shortcut relationship. It actually takes time and investment. Now, eventually those things snowball, but it takes time for that to grow. And that's actually the point. The thing that makes discipleship so effective is the same thing that makes it costly. It requires you to actually show up for a real person over real time. But when we look at what it produces, it's not just for them, but it's also for you. It's like we were talking about. You grow with this. I think I have on there Proverbs 27. It says, iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. And so that sharpening goes both ways. When you are discipling someone, you are investing, you're pouring into, you're entrusting, you're shaping, but that person is also shaping you. Like I said, you learn through that discipleship process. They might ask you questions that you never thought of. There was I've had a few moments where someone I've been working with, meeting with, asked me a question. I literally said, no one has ever asked me that question before. I don't even know how to answer that question. I need to think about that question. And it wasn't like some weird, like, did you think the angel did this in Leviticus? I was like, what? And I was like, oh, never. It's like, it was a common thing, but it was the way they worded it. I was like, interesting. I've never been asked that before. I need to think about this. And it was a growth mechanism for me. And then as I'm like, hey, we're gonna work on this together, actually. Like, we're in this together. And so those happens, they pray for you, they show up. And they might show you something about God that you would have missed on your own. I had a moment where I was leading a guy, and I was actually going through kind of a, it's silly to say, but a crisis of faith of like, it was like my third car that I had issues with, and then like the Lord, this is a super long story that we do not have time for, but essentially we had 3 cars given to us through prayer, prayed for the exact, God was testing me. I prayed for the exact make and model, year, mileage, and got that 3 times. Okay, so I prayed for that, had that car, did it again. The Lord was testing me in some things, and I was testing the Lord, and you can call that a sin or not, but we were working together. And after this 3rd car I got, that car, like, it basically broke within months of having it. And I was like, why did God do this? Like, I thought this was this car and blah, blah, blah. And I remember this moment where I am talking with this guy that I've been discipling, and I'm feeling low. And I'm like, man, like, why would God, like, just give me a car? And then, like, just a couple months later, like, take it away? Like, what was the point of that? And he literally just goes, yeah, maybe he did it just for fun. And I'm like, what? Why would God just do that for fun? And he was like, maybe he was just showing you he could do that. And I was like, I don't like this conversation. Like, this is, but he was literally showing me, like, I was, like, this, my faith was tied up in the gift. And he's just saying, no, God can just do it. And, like, that wasn't the problem. So we don't have time. I opened up a story without explaining. I probably left you with more questions. But there was this moment where I was like, I never would have thought of that. Like, I never would have saw God that way, but your perspective just showed me something I've never seen before. And so I would have missed that opportunity unless that person that I was walking with did that. And so you don't grow in isolation. And if I could, like, tattoo something on you, it would be this, like, on your hand, so you never forget, is the phrase, lone wolves die alone. Lone wolves always die alone. And we don't want to be lone wolves. We're not meant to be in isolation. And so we are meant to grow together, sharpen each other in honest relationships. So I'm going to close with this, and we should have some time for some questions. And these questions can be about anything in our classes, not just tonight's class. You are not, I'm going to kind of read this charge here I have. You are not disqualified from this because you're still in process. I am still in process. You are still in process. Everyone here at this church is still in process. But I lead while Jesus is leading me. I disciple people while I am being discipled as well. The call is not to be finished before you start giving. The call is just simply give what you have. So we read in week 3 that the formation is slow, it's long, it's a lifetime of daily surrender and growth. And you do not reach that finish line and then go back and bring others along with you, but you bring them along while you're still walking down that road. What you have right now is enough to begin. Now, you will grow and you will learn more and you will be more equipped in the years. But for the people that God has put in your life right now, you have exactly what you need to start right now and give what you have. And then you will both move on a journey together. Your story that the God has been writing with you, your honest relationship with Jesus, the things that you have learned, the things you're still learning, that is what the next person needs, not perfection, not some kind of mask. They just need your faithfulness. And so you have to answer the question, who are you going to invest in? So start praying about that. You don't need to have all 5 or all names written down right now, but just start thinking about it. Start praying, paying attention. Who keeps coming up in the lens of your mind? Who keeps somehow, like, literally and figuratively, like literally showing up in front of you, like that couple that I was talking about? Who is someone who could use someone like you to speak into them? Because again, the kingdom of God is not advanced by impressive people doing large, impressive things, but it's me and you, ordinary disciples, just doing what Jesus did, which is staying close to him, being formed by him, and passing him on to the next person. So you can see here on your practical application is basically just that. Identify who is one person to pray about investing in. What is that? Who is that? Name that name. Who is in your life? And kind of spend this week just praying for them. Kind of asking God, is this someone that you're felt called in to walk with more intentionally? And then start the conversation. Maybe ask them to get coffee, ask them how they're doing. Now, what I'm saying is, don't walk up to that person and just be like, God told me to disciple you, so I am now your discipler. Don't do that. If someone came up to me and said that, I would just walk away. I wouldn't even respond to them. And so, but when there's someone where it's like, hey, I would love just to grab coffee with you. I'd love to hear more about your story, and like, and as they're maybe you know something, or like you've seen something, but you don't have to like say it yet. Like, it looks like you're really struggling with motherhood. Can I sit down with you and talk to you about that? Like, that wouldn't start off that way. It's like, but it's still like, hey, I'd love to take you out for coffee. And then as they're sharing, it's like, oh, like, I've kind of felt some similar things as well. Would you mind if I shared something I learned about that? And you kind of start to, how do they respond? And then it kind of creates an organic relationship. Or maybe someone has already approached you and you're like, I don't have time for that, or I can't do that, or I don't have it all together yet. Maybe you need to reach back out to that person who has actually said, hey, can I have coffee with you? I would love to just like talk to you. And you have already turned them down. And then you have to commit to being discipled yourself. Who is someone who, if you've been in my capstone meetings that I've been doing, the graduation meetings, when I've been talking about who is discipling you, who are your peers, and who are you discipling. And when I talk about who's discipling you, the simplest way that I describe it, when I talked about like kind of like mentorship or spiritual leadership or discipleship, is who is someone that is a little farther along than you and loves Jesus and is exemplifying something that you want to grow in. And that's the person that you need to go talk to. You need to assume that that person is busy and does not have time for you. Because if that person's worth anything, they probably are busy and don't have time for you. And so get rid of that lie in your head that they don't have time for you, and you go and talk to them, and you do anything you can to be on that person's schedule. So if it's like, hey, I'd love to, I see this in you, I would love to grow in this. Do you have 30 minutes anytime this month that I could buy you coffee, bring a piece of paper and pen, and just ask you, I'll bring 3 questions to ask you. And if that person says no, then say, do you have 30 minutes in the next 3 months then? Like, it is whatever you can, but you're trying to grow and learn from those people. So you need to commit to being discipled yourself. Now, sometimes people will come to you, and sometimes the Lord will put people in your life that you need to go to. So that's a whole other topic, but I wanted to kind of capstone that. That's kind of the practical application. We have, 6 to 8 minutes. Notice I didn't say 6, 7 minutes because my kids, well, let me lay that down. So anybody have any questions? And I'll try to repeat the questions for those who are still watching this with us. And it could be about not just week 7, it could be about all the weeks except for the ones that Melissa taught because I can't speak for her. I'll let you guys process. Yes, ma'am. Oh, they have a microphone for you.
When setting up boundaries to disciple.
So when discipling someone,
yes,
setting up
setting
boundaries.
What would you say is a healthy amount of time per month to spend with someone who is like wants daily time?
Oh, wants daily
like
time?
Constantly reaching out.
Yeah.
And you got to set a hard boundary. Like what's a reasonable?
So it's what's healthy for you. So I would say that someone who wants daily time, that's probably not a healthy situation. They probably, without knowing any context, okay, so I'm going really cold in this, so who knows? And I don't want you to share any details anyway, but if someone is wanting daily time, they probably have some sort of like issue that requires some sort of counseling, because they are in a almost probably crisis mode, I assume. Or they're just so excited and they don't know what to do and they're just texting you all the time. And so some of it could just be because you're busy you're a mother. And so it's like, hey, I love your enthusiasm and I love this. Just so you know, because of just my schedule, I can't text all day. Like, and I can't even meet weekly. So it's like, I'd love for you to process your thoughts in written form or whatever. This is what I would tell, like, write some questions down, write some thoughts. And then when we meet once a month or once every couple weeks, like, bring that and you can share it and like encourage her to journal. Some people are verbal processors. And so they're feeling something, they're learning something. So they're just like, blah. And so it's like, hey, actually, you should get a piece of paper and you should get a journal. You should write some of these thoughts down. And then kind of like the ones that come to the surface, we can talk about. But it's actually honoring to them. And you're not just like telling them they don't matter. It's, hey, like we have to kind of set this boundary, not because I don't like you, but it's because with my time, my family, this, and I want to actually have this conversation with you in a meaningful way. But I can't tell you like how many hours, but I would say daily is probably a lot. Like I wouldn't do daily. So yeah. When I tell people, you do not need to kneel in front of that camera. They're fine. You can, they're fine. I tell people when they're talking about discipleship and when someone wants to meet with me, I'm like, we'll meet once a month, like for like an hour. And that's kind of like, because if I met with everybody once a week, that would be my time. Like I would have not enough time. And so I try to like, and there's sometimes where I might make it more. I'll be like, hey, actually, can we follow up on this next week? Because I just gave you something that I want to make sure you actually are going to walk out. But most of the time it's like, yeah, like there's a guy that I'm meeting with right now who's in another state. And I'm like, yeah, I'll meet with you. Like I'll have like a 45-minute phone call with you once a month. And I'll see how long they last. Typically they just drop off. Like people that reach out to you. But that's very normal to do. Yeah, I would say for people who are like married, kids, jobs, like 1 hour a month is a lot already. But it's doable. Like 1 hour is when you look at your schedule, 1 hour a month is not crazy. But I would say in different seasons of life, there are people who like I know that like my wife and I are empty nesters, we'll probably have a lot more time to do more things. We might be like, hey, I actually want to meet with people more or do whatever. But like right now in this season of life, I'm like, no, I actually can't give that to you. Like I literally only have that time a month just because of my current schedule. And so you have to kind of judge your season. Yeah, for sure. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So once you start like setting that up, like, hey, we're going to meet once a month, do you let the person decide if they more want somebody to talk to answer those questions, or if they want to go through, like we have this discipleship book, or do another, like, are you asking them what they need and what works for them?
That's a good question.
Yeah, something.
And so I think it depends on the person that you're meeting with and why you're meeting with them. So if the Lord has highlighted someone to you, like, for example, like you're praying and there's like this person that is in your kid's school and it's like a mom and you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to kind of just mess with this person. Then you're kind of leading the dance at that point. You're asking them questions, you're kind of pouring into them, and it's building into you're not walking to say, I'm going to disciple you, but you're building this relationship where you're reproducing and leading this person all along this journey. That's different. Or if there's someone you like, this has happened to me where I've led someone to the Lord and I was kind of following up with them as they were leading. But eventually I kind of like handed them off to somebody where I was like, hey, this person's your age, similar season of life. You should connect with this person. But if someone comes to me, I'm very clear. And so I'm like, hey, if you want to meet with me, you're going to come with 3 questions written down. You're going to bring a piece of paper and a pen. And we're going to do an hour. Because what happens is someone wants to meet with me, and then I sit down with them, and I see they have nothing in front of them, and I say, so what do you want to talk about? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I just wanted to like connect. And I'm like, nope, sorry. What are we talking about? Like you said, you specifically said, I want you to disciple me, or I want to learn from you, ask you some questions, but you want me to ask you questions. And it's like, that's not what's going on. You need to come, because it's not that I won't talk to you if you don't, but it shows pre-work. It shows I care about this conversation, so I'm actually preparing before I go into it. So you have to be careful. This happens to my wife a lot, so if anybody's ever asked to meet with my wife, here's a tip. Do exactly what I just said, which is like write questions down, because people will be like, can I meet with you? Like, I love you so much, and I look up to you, and I want to meet with you. And she's like, great. And then they sit, and they have no questions. They have nothing to talk about. And so she flips a switch, and she's just like, well, let me ask you questions. And she's learning about their life and all this stuff. And then she's like, what did we just do? She's like, I just expended so much energy asking you a bunch of questions, and like, you didn't actually learn anything about, whatever. And so that is like the other side of the coin. It's like sometimes you are leading that dance, and sometimes you tell them, hey, actually, like if someone asks to meet with you, you need to lead this dance, and you have to actually prepare for that. So I don't know if that answered your question, but all right, 8:31. It's time. Let me pray for you guys real quick. Holy Spirit, I thank you. I thank you for the work that you have done in these people. I ask that tonight something would be stirred inside of them to reproduce that and to lead others into lead them into leading others into following after you. In Jesus' name, amen. Awesome. Melissa, do I need to say anything or do anything? Just clean up, and bye, everybody. Bye.